Hey everybody, how's it? Aloha, this is Geebz here. Good evening. It's night for me. Most of you guys are probably sleeping, or 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning for you. Here in Hawaii, it's 7:45 in the evening. Working all day on an ASMR project, audio sensory. It's kind of a fun thing. But anyhow, I have before me, as pursuant to the tons of emails, the comments, people leaving the comments, not the emails, that Polyphia did it again. So let's see what they have going on here. Ego Death featuring Steve Vai. Now this, I was like, okay, let's see what we got here. Let's see how Steve and his magic and his wizardry fits into what Team Polyphia does here with some composition. So you guys know where all the links are down below for any support, cup of coffee, headsets, yada yada. Let's do this. This is Polyphia, Ego Death featuring Steve Vai. All right. All right, there's no two ways about it. I'm not surprised. So, in the sense that it seems like the last few releases they've had are really focused around the extraordinary musicianship. What I love about what I'm seeing is that Scott has some more front time in there, at least in the video aspect of this production. The musicianship, the arrangements is what I believe is to be expected at Polyphia now. So I don't want to say the word concerned, but where I'm at now is like, where do they go from here? We've had 3 songs now that have been sounding that same kind of vibe and style and everything. And where do they as a band push into the next level? I guess right now the fan base at large is still celebrating the technique and the style. I had said in my last video, I had said math rock or something like that, and somebody said, oh, Tim hates when I said, Tim probably doesn't give a shit what I'd say, or even know that I'm alive for that matter. But nonetheless, beyond the extraordinary musicianship and everything, what I love about what I'm hearing still, and that I believe is the higher element of the craft for me, is the intense engineering techniques that are being used here. Taking sounds, looping, compressing this, and sampling this and playing it a different way, or reversing, all those weird, unique things. I think it just seems to me like whoever does the engineering, whoever is sitting over the production of this, is spending as much time doing that work as the musicians are playing what they're playing. So you have only a 4-chord pattern, it sounds like. It sounds very kind of still Latin based. Da, 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 da. and I think there's a da 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 kind of a vibe. But it's all the intricate little things that are happening in between. The stop starts with the engineering that swells this. I thought it was great how he opened up with, it sounded like just a room mic of him, you know, playing and stuff. So that's what's going to keep me interested in this as far as listening to Polyphia at this point moving forward, is all the unique stuff they do engineering. So apparently sooner or later we're going to still see Steve coming up soon. So let's do this. So freaking creative. Man, is that so creative. Of course, seeing Steve, the way they kind of brought him in, at least in the video, on that chair and stuff, kind of like in honor of, we don't have to say what Steve Vai has meant to the world of rock and roll and guitar players and stuff. What I loved about what he played and how he played is that trademark, you know, kind of for the love of God, bending his, you know, his tremolo bar and the whole thing is such a signature sound. What I really loved more than anything about Steve's appearance in this was the mature. We all know that that guy can go as fast as just fast. But the maturity of his melody and his solo work spoke tons. This was like a moment where like Obi-Wan Kenobi walked out of the cave when little young, Jedi is pre-Jedi is trying to figure it out, and at that point, in the middle of his solo, it almost feels like these are not the guitar players you're looking for, kind of moment, And I loved the fact that he just brought a sustainable, what I mean sustainable, melody to the song, in the sense that there were just notes that were being held out just long enough, because at a certain point you're, with all the great stuff that's going on, for myself, sometimes I'm searching, at least in this track, I'm searching for a little bit more of a melodic thing that's happening. Like I'm waiting for, because Tim and Polyphia are very well known for their, incredible melodies. This, I thought that they were kind of maybe building everything up into Steve to where he was. I want to bring in the fact that you maybe saw me do this a few times. I love that they had a couple pads and rich or reshaped analog sounding punchy little pads. Very unique little things that were happening in kind of a pseudo melody kind of thing. That was happening in the middle of the track. But I also noticed, or it kind of felt to me, that some of the synth decisions on what it was they chose for sounds kind of reminded me a little bit of the Prince era, the 1984, Purple Rain kind of vibe. And that's in the sounds, not necessarily in the arrangements and stuff. So, but still, nonetheless, one of the most, the biggest thing I can take away from this for myself is the fact that that pattern pretty much kind of repeated itself, but their abilities to intertwine all these really super technical arrangements in between it and have all these very cool things fitting. And I may have said the same thing about their last video, is never ending. Like, I'll bet these guys probably at some point have to, like, okay, let's not use this track, let's not do this, there's too much in there, because these guys could probably pile it on top of each other. And of course, last but not least, their own trademark unique sounds and what their guitars are. It sounds like a harmonizer and all the things that they do. They stand out unto themselves and stuff. So I thought this was great. I had a blast. I loved watching Steve come in. I loved the tip of the hat, having him, being a part of, like, I don't want to say it's any kind of a changing of a guard kind of a thing, because it's not. Because Steve's he's still constantly creating and pushing his own limits with everything. But for what it's worth, I know a lot of people argue with me on the comments. Sometimes I say this, but Polyphia and the musicians there are pushing, they're opening new doors. That's the most important thing to me, is that they open new doors of creativities for other people. And I think that's paramount. When a musician or a band can actually actuate that, then that's where there's this, hyper burst of new creativity and reinvigoration of creativity by people who may be a little kind of, hey man, I've been doing the same thing. Wow, what are these guys doing? This is great. They're comboing flamenco with Latin and no. Anyhow, I thought this was going to be a short one, but I do what I do because that's what I do. But I'm going to release it right now, so I don't care. So you guys are going to get it in about 20 minutes when I render this out. You guys have a killer day. If you're still here, type in "I'm still here." Want to buy me a cup of coffee for all my blah, blah, blah. The link is down below. All right, guys, take care. See ya.